HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will testify before the Senate Finance Committee tomorrow about his Make America Healthy Again agenda. But he is very likely to face questions about the firing of the CDC director, the resignations at the agency, and his vaccine-related changes. MSNBC senior reporter Brandy Zadrozny is going to join us. Our nightcap is also still with us. Brandy, you have been covering the issue of vaccines and RFK Jr. for a while now. So when the senators question him tomorrow on issues like the CDC turmoil, to limiting the COVID shot approvals, to slashing mRNA research, what are you expecting to hear from the secretary?
Well, I have been reporting on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for a long time, actually since John Avlon was my boss at the Daily Beast. And what I expect from him is probably what John and I both know he's capable of, as we've both talked to him in private about this situation. And when he is pressed, he gets very, very defensive, and he gets rattled, and it's not a pretty sight, to be quite honest. And so I've been talking to people all day today about what they expect, and I've heard that tomorrow is going to be lit. Senators are very animated. We just got a letter from Ron Wyden a couple of days ago who said, you know, the senators have been asking Kennedy for all of this information, questions along the way, from the moment he canceled mRNA vaccines to when he oversaw firings to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they've never gotten any answers. So we're talking about since March, basically, that these senators have had all these questions and have documented his demolishing of the CDC and NIH and HHS agencies overall, and have gotten no answers. So we are expecting a lot of heated questions tomorrow. And knowing Kennedy, we are probably expecting a lot of heated answers.
Well, you know, Philip, along those lines, tonight on this network, Democratic Senator from Georgia, Jon Ossoff, who is up for re-election next year, he actually called for RFK's resignation. Here's what he told my colleague Jen Psaki. Take a listen.
Absolutely, he should resign. And he never should have been confirmed to begin with. He is utterly unqualified for this role. And in any normal Senate, he never would have gotten so much as a hearing. I mean, this is someone who throughout his public life has embraced just about every piece of quackery and pseudoscience that he's come across. He needs to step down. What he is doing at HHS is gross mismanagement that is putting this nation at risk.
Notable that the CDC is headquartered in Atlanta, which obviously Ossoff represents. Philip, do you expect more senators to push for RFK's resignation? And do you think he's actually vulnerable here, given all of the turmoil that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, those are obviously two very different questions. I mean, we saw last week, for example, Senator Sanders call for his resignation as well. I think that this is, you know, the minimum bar for Democratic senators is calling for RFK's resignation. There's no reason not to. I mean, you know, I think it's easy to get lost when we're having these conversations. It's just what an unusual, to put it as mildly and kindly as I can, pick he was for this, right? I mean, to Brandy's point, the reason he's so defensive when he gets his back up against the wall is because no one has challenged him, and that's how he went down this rabbit hole of these crazy beliefs, is because he was a Kennedy and he was never challenged. And like, you know, this is sort of an epidemic in the administration to some extent, certainly, but he is not a fit person for the job, very obviously, and is making a lot of decisions that are extremely dangerous, right? Like, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Like, this is not a normal conversation. This is not a normal HHS secretary coming in and talking to Congress. This is a guy who for years railed against vaccines and is now doing everything in his power to undermine vaccines, and has this position and has the blessing of a president who is not being held to account by his own party. And that's really the issue. I mean, this is the issue of everything we've talked about in the show, is that the Republicans are not holding Donald Trump to account. They're not holding his people to account. And so we have RFK Jr. doing exactly what anyone who has two eyes was able to predict he was going to be able to do, you know, as soon as he was given this position. As, you know, the Senator Ossoff just pointed out there, like, this is what he's going to do. And of course, this is how he is. This is who he is. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the Democrats are going to call for this. Do I think Republicans are going to join him? Well, are Republicans going to buck Trump? No. Like, you know, maybe, but no. Like, this is the answer to that question since January 20th.
Well, Senator Bill Cassidy is a doctor. I am waiting to hear what he does. Can we talk about Florida? Can we talk about Florida? Because today, Florida Surgeon General announced that the state plans to end all vaccine mandates. And this is the part, including for children. I want to play for you what he said about the mandates.
Every last one of them is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. Okay? Who am I as a government or anyone else, or who am I as a man standing here now to tell you what you should put in your body?
Joel.
Yeah. Assess. Simone, it's jaw-dropping. And the lack of irony to use that language, to use that type of comparison in this context is it would be hilarious if it did not have life-threatening ramifications, not just for the people in Florida, but for all the rest of us as well. I mean, I think that speaks for itself. And to be honest with you, I'd be concerned if I was a Republican running for office in Florida, whether or not I actually have to run on the DeSantis record and run on the DeSantis agenda and run on what Ron DeSantis's Surgeon General just said there. But a bigger observation I have here is, if you remember what kind of a core tension is in the MAGA, the MAGA movement right now, it's Donald Trump and the fact that he actually, if he had one thing that he could hang his hat on politically, it's the work with Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah.
To actually get life-saving vaccines to market so that millions of American lives could have been saved and spared. And he's running from that legacy. And his political movement is making him run from that legacy. And he has clearly made the assessment that he cannot be Mr. Vaccines. And I think you can even see Donald Trump struggling, doing a little bit of public cosplay and trying to understand where his movement is on that. I think he had a social post earlier this week where he questioned whether or not Republicans should be so negative on vaccines. So I think that that's an interesting core tension that is kind of cannibalizing the MAGA movement from within right now. But what we heard from Florida's Surgeon General today is just gobsmacking.
John, what do you think? And I mean, Democrats are obviously trying to counter this. Some of the governors are talking about they're going to form a health alliance to review scientific data and make vaccine recommendations. But your take, RFK, and the landscape here. It's crazy.
Yeah, look, I mean, first of all, when ideology starts intruding on public health, you're going in a dangerous direction. Because science comes under attack. But the Florida Surgeon General just said, I mean, if vaccines are slavery, then polio is freedom, apparently. And you get in that kind of an Orwellian death spiral, and kids are going to get sick and people will die. And you wonder what will get our attention, except then you remember that we had 1.1 million Americans died during COVID, and still that disinformation got in the groundwater. So I want to hear from people like, Senator Cassidy, who's a doctor, who was skeptical of RFK's claims and ultimately went along with it and empowered this kind of dismantling of the CDC that I'm sure he's agonizing about in private, but will he have the courage to say it in public? Because this is a dismantling of the repudiation of Operation Warp Speed, which was one of the great accomplishments of Donald Trump's first term. But what's happening right now at the CDC and in Health and Human Services and in some of these states will hurt Americans. Kids will get sick. People will die. This is what happens when ideology starts intruding on science and public health.